resolved after the Supreme Court's landmark ruling on presidential immunity that happened right here in America's newsroom yesterday. Former President Donald Trump is now moving to overturn his recent New York criminal conviction and to have his sentencing this month delayed. Joining us now is Carrie Severino, president of JCN. Great to have you. That's the Judicial Crisis Network, I should say. So, Carrie, can that work? Can President Trump succeed with that filing?
Well, what he's hanging his hat on from the immunity decision is a part of the decision that said the official acts, because they're immune, you can't even try to bring them in as evidence, because that would allow courts to try to reach into what the president's doing and kind of use, again, the legal system as a tool and a weapon to harass a president or a former president in this case. And so those things have to be excluded. In this case, he's saying there were pieces of evidence brought into this case that that shouldn't have been allowed now under this immunity decision. I don't think it's clear yet. All of this is very new territory. I don't think it's clear how successful that will be, but it certainly is going to delay the process. And I think that's in part what President Trump is hoping for as well, because obviously he'd rather have this pushed beyond the election.
Well, and that added to the Democrat freakout of President Trump prevailing at the Supreme Court yesterday for the most part. And I would say it wasn't just for President Trump, but for the presidency itself. But here's President Biden last night giving a rare primetime statement from the White House.
Today's decision almost certainly means that there are virtually no limits on what a president can do. This is a fundamentally new principle, and it's a dangerous precedent. It's a terrible disservice to the people of this nation.
And he was echoed by Senator Schumer and Blumenthal and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, basically calling the Supreme Court disgraceful. Blumenthal said, "My stomach turns with fear and anger that our democracy can be so endangered by an out-of-control court." I mean, really, honestly, what is the difference between yesterday's ruling and the previous 248 years of our country's history?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time in American history we've had this kind of a lawsuit attempted to be brought against a former president in this way. So it's not like we're going to lose a long tradition of being able to sue former presidents. What the court was trying to do, and I think did do very successfully, is show how this fits into the historical pattern of we have an understanding that the executive has a certain level of authority that you just can't second guess, even if you're Congress. Is passing laws, so they can't pass a law that says the president can do this or not do that if it's part of his core executive power. So this is really just formalizing that fact. You know, I just kind of used to the hyperbolic hand-wringing and head hair on fire from the left, because that's what we've been seeing all this time. We've been told so many times that they're going to come after the Supreme Court, you know, from Chuck Schumer's attempts to say so about abortion and continuing since then. They just can't stand the idea that the court is looking to something other than their own talking points when they're deciding decisions. They're looking at the Constitution and the law.
Yeah, they like the court when it goes their way and hate it when it doesn't. One quick comment here. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says she's going to file articles of impeachment against a justice. She doesn't say which one. How likely is that to actually go forward? Even as I say it, I'm shaking my head saying it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and you know, maybe she'll file them, but it's a complete joke. It's really just a publicity stunt and an attempt to impugn the integrity of the court because they're frustrated that the court doesn't agree with them on every turn.
Carrie Severino, thank you, and have a great 4th of July.